The battle over immigration policy is intensifying. You've heard about the thousands of kids crossing the southern border, many unaccompanied, being detained by our Border Patrol. That has caused pundits and politicians alike to fight back and forth. The Trump administration doubling down and digging in on their aggressive enforcement of our immigration laws.
Under current law, we have only two policy options to respond to this massive crisis. We can either release all illegal immigrant families and minors who show up at the border from Central America, or we can arrest the adults for the federal crime of illegal entry.
So we thought it'd be a good idea, after you've heard all the talking heads, to check in with you and find out how you felt about what's happening on our southern border. Nate Rogers has the story from your perspective. Nate, who'd you talk to?
Well, Bill, I spoke to several people throughout Brooklyn, and despite their own varying political affiliations, all said the same, that this issue is bigger than politics, many calling it cruelty. Now, U.S. Customs and Border Protection releasing these photos showing immigrant children caged in the U.S. Also, ProPublica releasing this audio.
It's not right. First and foremost, it's terrible, just the sight and the thought of parents being separated from their children in this way.
2,000 children have been detained and separated from their parents in just 6 weeks after President Trump's zero-tolerance policy on immigration. While the parents are being held at federal jails, their kids are in detention facilities waiting for some sigh of relief. Brooklyn residents tell me this is not the America they've grown to love.
The place looked like really they kept overcrowded in one big rooms, and they don't have attention, and special children. They're not supposed to talk even to the children. This is not right.
My mom recently saw it and she was upset about it. And she said, like, had that been her case, you know, we would have never grown up here.
Government officials say nearly 52,000 people were caught trying to illegally cross the southern border last month. President Trump shifting the blame to Democrats, saying immigration laws must be changed.
It's a sad situation, but Trump is trying to keep our country safe with all the terrorists.
Now, also, Bill, while out and about and speaking to New Yorkers about the immigration policy, New York Governor Cuomo and New Jersey Governor Murphy weighed in. Cuomo tweeting at Vice President Mike Pence, who was visiting New York, reminding him to look at the Statue of Liberty and remember all that she represents. Also, Murphy releasing a statement saying the ability to do the right thing rests on President Trump's shoulders. In Brooklyn, I'm Nate Rogers for Chasing News.
Okay, thank you, Nate. Let's bring in the 8+ panel for tonight's show. We are joined by Jeanette Hoffman, Republican strategist. Good to see you, Jeanette.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill Caruso, also here, Democratic strategist. Good to see you, Bill.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
All right, Bill, I'm going to start with you. It seems that your party is the loudest detractors of the president, joined by some on the Republican side.
Sure.
It seems to me that the president digging in on this, it's sound, sensible policy. You've got most of these kids are unaccompanied minors. You've got a dangerous situation if you do what Obama did, if you do what Bush, W. Bush did, turn them back to the hellhole they came from. What else do you do? They're in air conditioning, they've got cots, they've got food, hot water. Seems to me the most humane thing to do.
It is, but it's a troubling situation to watch. As a father, as a human being, to watch this, to hear the cries of children looking for their parents. This is hard to watch, but we do have to look at what do we do instead. And I think that's the part that's missing from this debate. I'm not sure I agree with the president and what he's done here, but we're in this situation now. The options are grim. We can either turn them back to where the countries they came from, they're clearly coming over for some reason. We can let these folks loose in our own country. And I have no idea who we're letting loose, by the way. They need to be vetted. So there's a legitimate question right now, and I think something you're going to see in Congress is, should we be separating families? Well, we're going to put all these families together, and we'll see what happens there in some sort of detainment while they're being processed. It's a big question.
To that point, Jeanette, Congressman Chris Smith has been a champion of human rights and against human trafficking. How many of these kids are either unaccompanied minors where they have to go somewhere? Right. You know, the Obama administration literally lost track of thousands of migrant kids. It seems to be the safest, most humane thing is actually to separate until you know it's a family, because they don't know.
Yeah, it's such a complicated issue, Bill, but it's such a heart-wrenching one. When you hear these children crying and you see the videos, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, it pulls at your heartstrings. You know, Congress needs to act. The president is absolutely right on the law. Congress needs to come up with some kind of solution. I know Ted Cruz, who's a Republican, he has a proposal to propose more temporary shelters to keep families together. When you can verify they're a family, when you can verify that there's been no criminal activity among the parents, and when you can verify they're not an unaccompanied minor.
As President Grant said, we talked about this in his first term, first inauguration. Said, you want to repeal a bad law, enforce it vigorously. Trump is the first president to actually enforce the laws that are on the books that predated him. Maybe Congress will act.